Have you ever heard of Fifine? Well, I didn't. On the internet I found that the company pitches itself as a research and development driven audio gear brand with skilled engineers and top-notch quality control, prompting the usual promise: exceptional products and customer service. But let's be real, that's the standard line for every emerging brand like forever. It's not like a brand will say, we build bad products and offer no service. So when they reached out to me, I was a bit reluctant. Oh no, not another brand that wants me to review a cheap headset. That was my first thought, but was I wrong? Will the H9 headset change my mind? Now, Fifine claims to have grown from a newcomer into a global-oriented firm in under a decade, crediting their success to commitment to quality and not just deep pockets. They launched their first mic, the K28, on Amazon in 2015, followed by the improved K668 in 2016. A couple of years later, the YouTubers like Linus Tech Tips, Tech Source, Hardware Canucks reviewed the A6T and the K668, landing them on top lists for cheap mics. And they sent me this, the Fifine AmpliGame H9 headset. So let's dive into the deep end and see why the H9 should matter. The H9 is a €30 headset that can be bought online almost anywhere. On the box, the H9 promises the usual high sound quality, 7.1 surround and powerful 50mm drivers. This isn't exceptional. This is standard stuff found on nearly every headset. So this doesn't start well. Inside the box, things continue. Everything feels a bit cheap and empty. Not that you'd expect a luxury velvet packaging at this price, but a simple cardboard insert to keep the headset in place would have been nice. As it is, the headset just rattles around. The headset itself is extremely light, which is nice for comfort, but it also makes it feel a bit plasticky, a bit flimsy. On the ear cups you will find a smiley face pattern. Not really my thing, but maybe someone will like it. The cups are closed, as do nearly all headsets. The pleather padding on them is surprisingly soft, making it comfortable to wear for longer sessions. The headband is also large enough to fit even my big head without any trouble. The inline volume control is located somewhere in the middle of the USB cable. It's located a bit too far from the headset, so during gaming sessions it may be difficult to find. Well, it's nice to see that the cable is braided. It gives it a bit more of a quality feeling. The Fifine AmpliGame H9 is at its core a very typical budget gaming headset. You get a pair of 50mm dynamic drivers, which are the speakers, rated at about 32 ohms, with a frequency response that covers the usual 20Hz to 20kHz. Well, this is pretty much standard. Sensitivity is listed at around 95 decibels, though independent tests I found online measured it a lot higher, over 110 decibels, which makes it extremely easy to drive. Now, in my opinion, this is so high I can't really believe it. But if true, even a laptop or a controller will push it to loud levels without the use of an external amp. The microphone is detachable and spec'd at around minus 42 decibel sensitivity. Now, on paper that's nothing special, but in practice it's one of the stronger points of the H9. You can see the knowledge of Fifine has accumulated on microphones is used here. It's not too sensitive to pick up every background noise, but sensitive enough for clear voice capture. Now, Fifine doesn't disclose what chip they use, and that's telling. It's almost certainly a standard low-cost C media part, kept at 16 bits and 48 kHz. In other words, don't expect miracles. My guess? Well, there are probably 3 candidates, all from C Media. The first is the CM108, the second is CM119, which is an updated version of the CM108, and the third is the 6206. All 3 could have been used, but since it's only USB 1.1 and it's 16 bits and 48 kHz, my guess is on the CM108. But this is still a guess, and Fifine hasn't confirmed this, even though I reached out to them. The so-called 7.1 surround is just simple DSP trickery, not true multi-channel audio, as only 2 drivers are present. It's echoes and reverbs added to make it sound 3D-ish. Comparable to headsets in this price range, they all have the same trickery. The good thing is you don't actually have to use the inline box at all. You can plug in the headset straight into any other sound card you prefer by using the 3.5mm plug. Now, this can change the sound quality and characteristics of a headset completely. So what stands out? Honestly, not much in terms of hardware innovation, it's pretty bland. But 2 details are worth mentioning. First, the headset is extremely efficient, so it works across almost any device without needing more power. And second, the microphone punches above its weight for a sub €50 headset. Beyond that, the H9 is exactly what it looks like, a solid budget headset that sticks to the basics, without pretending to be more, except for some marketing on the box maybe, but that's it. This is all nice and everything, but what about the audio quality? In cheaper headsets, I found that the highs are extremely sharp and uncomfortable. After half an hour of gaming, your ears will start to hurt. The middles are always way too overpowered and the bass is almost always missing. Manufacturers often sell this as a gaming features, so you can hear footsteps better. Which should make it okay that their product, well, sucks. Well, does the H9 suck as well? Well, no, it doesn't. I was even impressed. This time the highs aren't overpowered. They're precise, they're relaxed, but they do tend to get a bit drowned when the bass kicks in. It's almost like the driver struggles to keep the treble clear when heavier low end is playing. Speaking of bass, it has some weight to it, not ridiculously boosted, but let's just say it's a bit on the heavy side. And the problem is it doesn't extend very deep, so sometimes it comes across as a bit cheap, a bit plasticky. And for me that would start to annoy me. The mids on the other hand stand out more than the rest. That makes voices and dialogues easy to follow, though it can also give music a slightly boxy effect. But for a headset that costs around €30, I just cannot be too harsh. The overall sound quality is actually pretty solid for that price. Now this is me when talking through the mic. When gaming, my friend said that my voice sounded okay-ish. Now, to bypass the inline control box, I also tested the H9 with my trusty Burson Audio Playmate 2, which is fully modded to achieve a very high degree of audio fidelity. Now, this is a bit of a strange setup as it doesn't represent real-world scenarios, but I wanted to see what the H9 really can do and make it shine a bit more. But to be honest, the difference wasn't that shocking. To be clear, it was imperceivable. So either the drivers are already performing at peak efficiency with the dongle, or the dongle is really that good. So to test that, I also ran some Rightmark audio analyzer tests with the inline dongle, and here are the results. In normal stereo mode, the results were actually pretty decent for a budget dongle. Frequency response was within half a decibel across the band, distortion was low, and stereo crosstalk came around about minus 60 decibels. Nothing spectacular, nothing offensive either. Switch it over to the so-called 7.1 mode, things really fall apart. The frequency response suddenly shifts by almost +5 to -9 decibels, which is rated as very poor. Crosstalk collapsed to about -10 decibels, meaning that the left and right channels bleed heavily into each other. There's your 7.1 trickery. Noise and dynamic range stayed about the same, but the overall rating dropped from good to just average. So the takeaway is simple. In normal mode, the little dongle is just fine, perfectly serviceable for a cheap headset. But once you enable 7.1, the audio quality takes a nosedive. It's more marketing trickery than an actual improvement. And if you care about fidelity, you'll want to leave it off. So where does that leave us with the Fifine AmpliGame H9? The build quality isn't going to impress anyone. It's light, it's a bit flimsy, and the packaging feels like an afterthought. The so-called 7.1 surround is little more than a gimmick, and thus the inline dongle is best left in stereo mode. But here's the twist. The actual sound quality is better than you'd expect for €30. The highs are relaxed instead of painful. The mids make voices and dialogue stand out. While the bass isn't the deepest, it still adds enough weight to make gaming enjoyable. In other words, the H9 doesn't win on looks, features or build quality, but it nails the one thing that really matters: how audio in games sound and how you sound to your mates. And at this price point, that's more enough to recommend it. So if you are looking for a budget headset that actually sounds decent where it counts in-game and you don't mind skipping it for music, the H9 is absolutely worth a look. In the end, Fifine seems genuinely quality driven as they said, and it's interesting to see if they can keep their promise. That's it for me for today. Thank you for watching, and I'd like to see you in the next one. See you then. Bye bye!